Okay, our final speaker for this session is Nick Burry, and his title right there, Public Transit Trip Planner, and his faculty advisor is Professor Marietta Cameron in Computer Science.
I think it's officially afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Like I was introduced, I'm Nick Burry, and I created a mobile application called the Public Transit Trip Planner. And so at the very end of this will be a little bit of an interactive bit. So anyone who has a smartphone, get ready to use it. There'll be a link and you can play around with the app at the very end and tell me if you like it or not. So what is it? It is a client-side mobile web application that gives directions between multiple destinations that users select. So basically it allows a user to set 2 or more destinations and how long they wish to be at each destination, and then it'll return directions on how to get between there using public transit. And just for clarity, a client-side application is one that primarily exists within the browser. So there is no server backend. It really allows me to, it makes it more portable. So I don't have to worry about taking care of this as much once it's out on the web. So why make it? The first glimmer of inspiration came from an open data conference in Asheville in the fall. Their closing speaker, I believe, was Kevin Curry, who is the program director at Code for America. And he talked about their work for kind of doing civil coding, working on projects that increase government efficiency and make it more usable for the general public. And so that got me thinking of, there's all this data that the government produces that you can use, and it got me thinking about what I could do with that. But it didn't really, the idea never really solidified until my parents were in Portland, which I don't know if anyone's ever been to Portland, but they have an amazing public transit system. You do not have to rent a car if you're there. You can take the train, you can take the bus system. It's all very easy. And that's not like many cities. If any of you have tried to use public transit, it's a headache. You see all those numbers, the times, it's like gigantic charts you have to somehow decipher. And that's a pain and it's intimidating. You'd rather just drive. And so my real goal for this app is to truly encourage public transit, which not only will reduce CO2 emissions, but helps with traffic congestion. So who is it specifically aimed at? Tourists. It's a great way to make the tourists interact with the city more. And my application allows you to kind of bootstrap your own routes into it. So a city could host this app and have, let's say a historical monument route, or especially for our city, a brewery route. Then people don't have to drive between the breweries. Or a public art gallery. We have tons of public art galleries, and it'd be nice to be able to take the bus system between there. But it also would help first-year students. I know in a lot of colleges they don't allow cars to be on campus, that freshmen aren't allowed to have them. I know I didn't have one, and I used primarily the bus system my first year. And we always winged it. We didn't know what we were doing. We just kind of caught whatever bus and hoped it took us the right way, because it was intimidating to try and interpret those charts. And I think the last time we took it, we ended up getting stuck on Tunnel Road at 11 p.m. on a Friday and had to make calls to all sorts of people till we got a ride, and we ended up not getting back home till I believe midnight. So clearly some clarity within the public transit system would have kept that situation from happening. So there was a study in Seattle done by Ferris and Associates of the University of Washington on a mobile app called One Bus Away that provides tracking data for transit systems, so that not only buses but trains as well. And it is live tracking data, so you know when it's going to arrive, you know at what point on its route it is. Because transit can be late, sometimes up to a few minutes, and that can be a pain. Then you end up standing at that station for a while. And they found that 92% of people who use this app were more satisfied with public transit and were more likely to use it. And so really what this, kind of inspired in me is that it showed that bringing public transit more into the modern age would definitely encourage use. Because right now it still follows systems that they've been following since the 70s. There isn't a lot of mobile interaction or web interaction with transit systems. So how is it different than other mobile apps that exist right now? Well, almost any major city, especially ones with multiple public transit system methods, have trip planners on their websites. But they'll only get you from point A to B. So that only does so much. My application will get you from point A to Z and everywhere in between. You could have 100 destinations. I don't know why you would, but you could. And Google might get mad at you at that point because you'd be getting so many directions. But you could do that. And so how does it work? We'll get a little bit more technical. This is my favorite part. So this is just kind of a flow diagram of how this application works. So what I created was something called a single web page application, which means that all of this exists on one HTML document. So you can think when you visit a page, that's an HTML document. All of this exists on that page. However, these blue boxes symbolize views that are rendered. So when the user is navigating, it'll feel like it's a full website, but it's only actually one page. And so I'll start with the drawback of using a single web page application. The drawback is that it can take a little while to load in your mobile phone. But the plus side is, and it takes a while to load because it has to load all these views, all these items. But once it does load, then the user does not have to wait to load other pages. So that makes it quicker to navigate the site once the user's already on it. And this website, as you guys can play around with it later, actually loads pretty quick, so it's not too much of an issue. Some of the resources or technologies I used to build this, the PhoneGap framework, which allows me, and this will be more for the future of this app, to package the web application into what is called a web view and build it out to any mobile application, whether it be Android, iOS, BlackBerry, not Windows because they're not very friendly, and some of the more obscure operating systems that no one really uses. Handlebars.js is a templating engine which basically allowed me to generate and inject dynamic content on the fly. And so there are lots of ways to do what you're seeing here, but this is like the nicest way to do it. It looks nice, it's easy to read, and it's fun to work with, which is why I chose it. jQuery Mobile is a user interface framework that takes some of this design away from me. I'm not a designer. This is kind of a utilitarian view right here, but it makes it really easy for me. And it's a responsive design framework, which means that it will automatically fit whatever device you're using, whether it be a tablet, computer, or mobile phone. And the Google Maps API is what I use to communicate with Google to get directions. And without that, I could not build this application. And so just quick notes on testing. To test this out, I used what they call in the industry kind of an agile development practice, where you build, and it really means you put stuff on there and then test it out, hope it works, and then do that again the next day. So basically it's an incremental building process. But once it was done, I had friends and family test it, and I really just sent them links. Half of them, I didn't even tell them what it was. They didn't even know. And the idea for that was to see how clear the instructions were for the app, how easy they could use it. Because that's the main goal here, is to make sure that it's easy to use and easy to pick up. And I had them report back on things like ease of use, if they broke it, and overall design. And that turned out definitely to be helpful. I had a huge bug where when I was testing it, I never used something like a back button, but I think everyone uses a back button to navigate websites. And so that was a bug I had to fix. So I'm going to do a short demo of the app right now. Yes, it's fine, Microsoft. And it's all hosted right now on UNCA servers. I'm working on hosting it on my own servers shortly. There we go. So it'll first alert you if it's your first time here to say check out the info tag. So if you go up, and this is really big, so just to show the responsiveness, you can kind of scale this any way you want, but we'll keep it full screen to make it easy. So you can click this info tag and it'll just kind of give you a rundown of what you're supposed to do. And in the menu, they'll show where pre-existing routes will be listed. So routes you've already created or routes that have kind of been bootstrapped in by someone else. So since there are no routes, we'll create a new one. And we'll call this route, Aftermath. So currently we're at 1 University Heights. Whoa, if I can type. Right, 1 University Heights. Let's say I'll be here for another 2 hours. Next location, well, it's getting warm out. I have to go get flea medication for my dogs. So I can go down to PetSmart on Tunnel Road, and that should only take like 30 minutes. And then I can add a new location. I'll probably go home at that point. Let's say I live at Pinnacle Ridge, which I do not know the address of. And there we go. And that doesn't necessarily matter how long I'll be there, but it will in a little bit. So then I can get the directions, and it'll display my current address here, and then how to get to each bus stop and how long the bus travel will be. So as you can see, and then that would be PetSmart, and then I would end at home. But let's say that's not quite enough. Like, after I go home, I still want to do something later tonight. So I can go back and edit the route and add a new location. Let's say I'll be at home for probably like 100 minutes. So after I'm at home for a while, I don't know, this has been a pretty long day. I'll probably want to go to the bar with some friends. So then I can type in, let's say, Barley's. It's always a good bet. And there we go. And I'll be there for, I don't know how long a day it is, maybe 500 minutes. And then get directions for that. And as you can see, it's updated from my home address to going down to Barley's. And if I entered way too long a time there. So if I entered my home address after that, it would tell me just to catch the bus in the morning. And this also displays the map. So you can view your route, and this is kind of as a reference point. You can view it here. So you can see all your destinations, the school. I guess that's where I live. Wait, no. Yeah, that's where I live. There's PetSmart. And so if you have a mobile phone, you can use it to scan this QR code. It'll link directly to the website. Or if you have to type it in, you can type in that long address and play around with it. So do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How important is the data structure that, I mean, obviously you got the data, the bus schedule from the city, right? Is there any kind of, standards that you can take us to another city, or is it, write it for every city?
Yeah, so the fantastic thing about that is Google handles that. They've had a transit program since 2007 that they go and ask cities for their transit data and stay up to date on it. So all I have to do is communicate with Google servers, and they'll have the transit data I need.
Like you mentioned, with your freshman experience, a lot of times buses are not on time.
Yes.
Are you going to add anything to keep up with like trackers inside of the bus to make them more like real time?
Yeah, so what I would love to do is have that GPS tracking ability. I don't know if Asheville Transit has GPS in their buses. I don't remember off the top of my head. But for any city that does, I would certainly love to implement that.
I live off the bus route. I live out in Fairview. So if I were to put that in, would I get a message, like take a cab or?
Unfortunately, right now, it would just tell you to walk. So the default for these directions, so like if you tried to get transit directions to go somewhere on a Sunday, it would just say, you better walk, because you can't take the bus. So the default is walk for right now.
I noticed that the directions that it gives says, take the bus to, but it doesn't tell you which route, which number. Is that something that's not embedded in Google or something that you could incorporate into it?
That is something I couldn't incorporate, yes. Yeah.
So I'm thinking for tourists in particular, it would be very useful to have that sort of specificity.
Yeah, definitely.
But would it be included in cities where they do have those routes? Like when you use Google Maps in New York, it tells you each train and bus to take with the number on it. Would that be then pulled in if it had it?
Yeah, so Google, when you request directions from Google, it'll return this kind of huge array of object data about the route that you're requesting, and it'll give most of that information about the transit.
If you put a store name in, will it find the address for it?
Yes, yeah. Well, as far as Google is capable of, so it uses Google Places autocomplete. So any company that is within that server will do
If I
that.
put in Hertz Rent-A-Car, it would route to a Hertz Rent-A-Car.
Yeah, it'll find the one in Asheville first, and then other ones. Mm-hmm.
Is it an option for it to be in other languages?
Not right now, but that would be a fantastic idea, especially since Google has transit data for a lot of European countries. I don't know outside of Europe, but certainly other countries.
Have you contacted Asheville Transit in terms of them helping people find this app? Maybe put it on a link to it on their website?
That is definitely on my to-do list, for sure.
Thank you, Nick.